Hello, everyone, and welcome to Success Secrets on Air. Success Secrets on Air is a show about, well, success stories from people just like you and me who've discovered the secrets to achieving unbounded success and who are here to share those secrets with us. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Lisa Ingalls, and I'm the founder of Interstate Coaching. I'm an author, a speaker, and a mindset mastery coach who specializes in health and well-being. And I'm here with my co-host, Stuart Harris. So, Stuart, I'd like to say hi to you today.
Yeah, hi Lisa, and thanks very much for that introduction. I'm really excited to be here too because I think we've got an exceptional guest joining us today, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, look, where do I host from? I'm coming to you from Attainment Mindset Coaching, and Attainment Mindset Coaching is about structuring your mindset to always achieve and to be successful in your life. And the interesting thing was, while we were in the green room, we were talking about how much we prevent ourselves by the things that we're thinking and the blocks that we put up to the manifestation of the right things into our lives. And it's all about creating the right mindset. So that's what Attainment Mindset is all about, and it's very exciting here to have our guest. And Lisa, I'll let you talk to our guest because she's very much into mindset coaching as well.
Absolutely. So, yes. So here's the thing. Behind every successful man and woman is a coach. Even the greatest coaches of our times, like Tony Robbins, they've all worked with coaches and even continue to work with coaches. Why? Well, because they know that really stepping into greatness requires the support and guidance of someone who can engage them in a process of self-discovery and lead them to maximizing their personal and professional potential. So I'm really excited today in this episode of Success Stories on Air to be talking to our guest, who is Dawn Nocera. She's a mindset and mastermind mentor. We're going to be talking to her about the importance of having a coach and finding the right coach or mentor, and how that's really a transformational journey in and of itself. Dawn is a regular featured guest on Columbus Biz TV and has several DVD titles, including A Spiritual Approach to Unlimited Abundance, The Law of Attraction in Relationships, and A Return to the Garden, Aligning with the Divine. So with that being said, welcome, Dawn. Oh, and you need to unmute yourself.
Yay! Well, thanks for that introduction. You know, you do so many things and sometimes you forget, oh yeah, I've done that too. So yeah. I appreciate you doing a little research and finding out some cool things. So, and I'm very happy to be here with you guys because there's nothing more fun than sharing stories with other people who understand the mindset game. So very excited to be here.
It's really great to have you with us, Dawn, and you know, this is our second hangout, and I know you're well developed in terms of what you're doing in interviews and hangouts, but this is certainly an exciting platform. And what I want to ask you first up, before we perhaps touch on your story, is to tell us a bit more about what you're doing and why that's important to you.
What am I doing now? I'm helping people create their own group coaching and mastermind programs. And I'm hoping that this is the question that you're asking me, other than sitting here with you with a glass of water, because I'm very excited about that as well. In general, what I'm doing is helping people create their own group coaching and mastermind programs, because I find that once you create a group environment for people, that transformation really happens. Also, being able to do it one-on-one, but having a group program has really been transformational to my business, and I know that it's transformational for my clients' businesses as well. So that's what I'm doing. What am I always doing? I'm always being a mom. My kids are the most important things to me, and I'm hanging out from Columbus, Ohio. I love this new technology, this Hangout technology. It's unbelievable. It makes us, we can connect from wherever we are all over the world and be face to face. So we have some great interaction, and it brings a level of intimacy that you don't get just from teleseminar. So I'm enjoying this.
Awesome, and you touched there, Dawn, on being a mum, and I think that that's challenging in itself in terms of a workload. Can you perhaps tell us about that, and tell us about your story and where you came to become a coach and a mindset strategist from being a mum?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really started my journey being a stay-at-home mom. When I began coaching, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was with my kids. I really learned to enjoy being a mother. And I say learn to enjoy being a mother because I wasn't sure that I would ever be a mom, and that wasn't part of my life plan. But once when I had my first and just enjoyed it so much and loved being with them, I realized the opportunity was there for me to do something else outside of the house. And I started doing some website design and some just different things like that. And what I've been passionate about all my life is personal development. But I had no concept that I could actually do it myself. I mean, I had no idea that that was something that I could turn around and become a leader or help other people do that, other than the fact that I've been coaching people all my life. So when I found out that there was a career called life coaching, I was like, oh my gosh, raise your hand and sign me up wherever I could go. So that was my story. But it didn't happen overnight, and I really think that that's a real big part of my story. I thought the moment I put my little shingle up and I would announce myself to the world that I was going to be a life coach, that would change everything. And what happened to me is it began to give me opportunities and bring to me opportunities, because my desire was really to help a lot of people. And I was able to do some really cool things by just taking those little tiny steps. And and here I am today, where I've worked really hard to be able to not work as much as I did for a while, to be able to hang out with you today and help other people do the same thing.
And Dawn, it's quite a major step to identify that you want to become involved with helping others and manifesting that in a process, because you talked about creating websites, and that's easy. That's an activity that you can associate with. You can go away and do it, but to start helping others and to work out that that's what you want to do takes a bit of time, and as you said, it's obviously something that took you a bit of time. When did you answer the question, who is Dawn Nocera?
Oh gosh, when did I ask the question, who is Dawn Nocera? That is a hilarious question. My name is, and if you know anything about names, and I'm not sure if you or your guests know anything about, they are really carry a lot of meaning for you, and whether you're aware of it or not. My name is Dawn. My middle name is Renee. So Dawn is a new day. Renee means born again. So basically every day I get to wake up born again, asking that question, who am I? And when was the first time I asked myself the question, who is Dawn Nocera? Well, the first day I got married to my husband was, because my name was different. Who is Dawn Nocera? Now I've taken another name. But I've been asking myself that question all my life, and I think that is an important question not to get caught up in. And I've done that several times, to ask, who am I, and being okay with the gap between knowing who you are and who you're becoming is really quite an experience, to be okay with yourself in those times, because there were times, when I was younger, and I say that has really been the question on my plate since I was born. You can ask anybody, who am I? But to evolve, I guess evolve is kind of not the right word that I'm looking for, but more like to be aware that you're in that question, and to be aware that you are consciously asking that question and consciously moving from who am I supposed to be to who do I want to be. And that transformation happened to me in that process of me deciding to be a coach. So that was really about, less than 10 years ago, and I'm it's not been that long ago. So I hope that answered your question. That was a great question.
No,
that was a
that's
great
great.
question.
One of the blogs that I write is about being a sales professional, and one of the key elements that keeps popping up in selling and directing salespeople is exactly that, is having direction and defining that direction with purpose. In terms of where you've been going with your coaching, why has defining yourself been important? And how would you state this to somebody who perhaps is lost right now, or doesn't quite know where they need to be heading?
Yeah, well, that's the question. Where do they need to be heading? I would ask them to gently shift that to where do they want to be heading, because when we get really detached from our desires, we start to put that. We start to put that responsibility on somebody else to define who we are and who do we want to be and what should we be doing. And you ask a lot of questions, and nothing all ever seems quite right when you're in that place. And you're searching for something. Get really comfortable with asking yourself, what do you really want? And also at the same time, be comfortable being willing to try a lot of different things. Now, that may be contradictory to what you read in maybe some personal development books, but when you're starting out, you really want to try a lot of different things to feel your way into your experience of who you are. There's, one of the things that you're going to try is going to be the thing that's really going to wake up another aspect of you that you didn't even know existed. And I think that that's really important, to be willing to do little things and be willing to, some people say be willing to fail, but if you're really in a dark place, you already feel that that's what you're doing. So how could you, you feel, sometimes you do, you feel like, well, gosh, this is failure right now. How do I get out of this? And it's just being willing to do something that you really want to do, serve somebody in a different way, and just try some new things out, because I think it really is a disservice to limit yourself to having to do only one thing, especially when you're in that questioning stage. Who am I? I was there. I remember one time I was in that space of questioning who am I. I was so stuck in that frustration of who am I, that and I have to know who I am before I make a first step moving in a different direction. And it kept me in inaction, because I thought, well, if I choose this one, what if I'm wrong? What if that's not who I really am, right? So I hope that helps. I help somebody out there, that don't give yourself a hard time about answering that question, but there's a lot of wisdom in being okay with knowing that behind the question that you're asking, that you're really the person who's empowered to ask the question. And I think that that's to bring yourself really into who you really are, is just becoming aware that you are asking these very powerful questions of yourself. So.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. A very interesting comment just come up in the Q&A column. It says here, I know the feeling. Once you lose your desires, you're like, what the hell do I want to do in my life? And it's something I think probably most people can associate with, or have touched on at some point or other, at some point in their life. One of the hangouts that happened the other day was Alex Mandossian with a gentleman by the name of Morty Lefko, who talks about self-belief and how you get in touch with those beliefs, and how they things that we need to work on as coaches particularly because a lot of the beliefs that people have created early in their life are not conducive to creating the success in their life now. In terms of that, it's very important for us to connect with, our thought processes and to actually identify individual thoughts, because until we can learn to do that, we really can't work out through the mud what it is that's causing us angst, what's stopping us from getting what we want, and all the rest of that sort of thing. So in terms of your coaching process, Dawn, can you perhaps elaborate on what type of tools you're using to help people to get back in touch, make that connection, identify those thoughts, and working out the incorrect beliefs that they've been carrying with them?
Well, I use forgiveness a lot, because I've found, and I'm just kind of a blanket statement of forgiveness, I've found that most people, when they get really, really stuck, that there's sort of an energy behind their stuckness that when it's cleared up, it just releases so much creativity that they can move forward with much more ease. So, and that doesn't always happen naturally, or it doesn't always happen unnaturally. It's not my first step every time. My very first step with working with the coach is to ask, or with working with the client in a coaching situation, is to really get clear on whether or not what they want is really what they want. And I think you've probably done that a lot with yourself, but it goes back to when I was working with athletes a lot, and they are working on their game, and if they're not able to connect with the fact that they are in choice, meaning that they have a decision that they can win this game or win the race, or that they can make a choice to play better, then they'll never get to that next level. And to really help them own the fact that they have choice, I always find out, so the very first thing I do with anybody, and it really takes 2 seconds, is just to really just ask them, is this what you really want, or is this what somebody else wants for you? And to just clear that right out of the, just to get them into responsibility for their own life and their own decisions, and then their own goal, is really important for the clients that I work with, and I really think with everybody. But until they really make that decision consciously or unconsciously, it may be a struggle along, down the road somewhere, where they have to back up and say, oh, well, wait, this really wasn't my, this isn't really my goal. And I've seen that a lot of times with people deciding to run a race, a marathon, and you're trying to help them, go along, and then they're wait, this isn't really my goal. This was something that I, thought might be a good idea, but it's not a real desire, to really connect with that desire. My process, gosh, I guess those are the two things I say are pretty much consistent every single time I work with somebody, to really help them connect with their desire and connect with, of course, we're all doing the same thing. As a coach and coaching each other, when it becomes a struggle, reminding the client to go back to why they're doing this, not just the desire itself, but why do you really want this? And then that frees up that energy for the momentum to go forward. So it's kind of a dance. So when I'm dancing with my clients, when I'm working with them on helping them create a program, it's the same thing, because you have the desire to create something, and then it's going to manifest at some point. And you're absolutely right with the belief systems that'll stop you along the way. And a great coach, and this is one of the reasons why I think everyone really should work with a coach, is because a great coach has worked with other people, and they know along this path that you're heading what belief systems may be common amongst other people on that same spot. And it's not that they, it's just because we live in a society in a world where, things stop us at certain points, and it's it's pretty easy for a coach, not always easy, but it's pretty easy for a coach to see what's stopping you from the outside. So I always, I suggest working with the coach, even if you're doing a group program too, like a group coaching program. I would definitely suggest doing some one-on-one coaching because you can get a whole lot more out of it.
You definitely see similarities and the similar traits that a lot of students and people looking for coaching have when you're working with so many, and I definitely can relate to where you're coming from here. I've got a question here from Doug Green, who's watching in. He says, can you give us the top 3 questions somebody would be asking when they're looking for a coach? Or the types of questions that they would ask, the top 3 questions.
Well, the very first question is, what is it that you really want from a coach? Because sometimes we hire a coach, and I've done this before, and I'm sure if you've had a coach before, you may have had this situation. Sometimes we hire a coach for the promise that we think that the coach is going to deliver on, but the promise isn't really. The promise is more of the bright, shiny object. It's more of a, the promise is not your next step. It may be, your 5 steps down the road, or it just may not be the right fit. So my very first question is to really check in with yourself and get really, really, really clear on what it is that you want from a coach. And then in that question where you're asking yourself, what is it that I really want from a coach? Then you'll begin, of course, through the law of attraction to attract the people that fill that desire. So really getting clear on what you need, or not even what you need, but what you really want from a coach. And writing it down, because once you get into a relationship with anybody, whether it's a coach or not, sometimes we forget why we got in the relationship to begin with. And if you have like a little reminder that says, this is the reason why I came here, and being honest with your coach about that, the real reason, not just the goal, not just the desire or the outcome that you want to work with that person, but really letting them in on the secret, the reason why you are working with a coach, will help them create a mastermind alliance with you to hold that desire until it manifests. And that's really important. So I hope that answered your question, Doug. And so that would be the top 1 question. What do I want from a coach? Top number 2 is I would definitely look at costs, because there are coaches who are at different levels, and you really have to look at that. And I've had coaches before who have said, well, if you want to be, if you really want this, the sky is the limit, you're going to have to pay the sky, in order to work with a great coach. And I believe that that's true for the right people. So if it doesn't feel right for you, then don't do it, because you're not going to get what you need to get out of the program if you are not in integrity with the amount that you're paying for the program. It's got to stretch you, though, believe me, it has to stretch you. I mean, or you're not going to feel like it's of any value at all. So it has to be a real stretch. And then I guess what's the third question to ask? Can you be in perfect harmony with this person? Napoleon Hill talked about a mastermind group as a group of 2 people creating a third mind, getting together, and that and the whole purpose is to create harmony. Once the harmony in the relationship is broken, then the mastermind is broken. So you really have to ask yourself if you can be in harmony. And part of that question would be, am I willing to be coached? That is a part of that question, because I've had clients who really were ready to pay the money, but they weren't ready to be coached. And this doesn't happen anymore, but at the very beginning when I started coaching people, that happened a lot. They had the money to pay, but they weren't really willing to take action on what they were being coached on. So really, maybe the third question is the first question. So maybe the third question to ask yourself is, are you willing to be coached? For you yourself to ask that question, Doug. I hope that helped.
Yeah, thanks, Dawn. That was a great answer, actually, and really enjoyed what you've contributed there, and I hope the listeners are enjoying that as well. Can you tell us a bit about the 12 Seeds of Wealth program? And
Yeah.
I know this is a really good coaching program that you've got going. Can you elaborate on it, and how does it help your students?
Yeah, well, that is really the question. That's the program that answers the question, who am I? I mean, that's really the program that answers that question, because it goes through 12 areas of your life, and I can list them if I can remember them off the top of my head. I always have to write them down. But it goes through your attitude, it goes through your life purpose, it goes through your vision and your goals for your life. It goes through and in every area, you get yourself in alignment with having a great relationship with that seed, and we call them seeds because they're bearing fruit. Is the purpose of planting the seeds is so they can bear fruit that support this amazing and beautiful life that you're here to live. So that program is really about, and it's really about getting very, very comfortable with who you are. And I call it a gardening program because it's about creating your inner garden. It's about creating the mindsets that will support you in having your financial abundance. It's about creating the habits. Habits is another seed, and the word habit is a very masculine word. And if for your listeners, excuse me. The other part of that is it's your relationship with your life. So, your habits are really your relationship with life. So we build that seed up, and we allow you to see where you're having a great relationship with life, so you have great habits, and then where your habits, can be uplifted and up-leveled. And it's a very easy and say easy program, because that one is really designed to help you discover the ease and flow that lies beneath all the struggle and stress. And it's really digging down and just getting to the point where you can allow that ease and effortless flow of abundance to come to you and emerge from you. So I hope that answered your question. I love that program. I've taught it every year. I'll be teaching it again, or teaching it. It's coaching, it's leading, and I always learn so much from my clients, but we'll be doing that again in January. So thanks for asking about that. I love that program.
Yeah, no, it looks exciting, and I'm very intrigued by it. So thanks for answering as well. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure that our listeners can definitely get some mileage out of that program. I think that would be very worthwhile participating in. Just finally, a last question before we go to perhaps a Q&A is in terms of the roadblocks that people encounter, particularly when they're being coached. What are the sorts of roadblocks that you find, and how do people deal with them and get past them?
Well, I think a great coach has, and this is a great question. When you're being coached, most of the time we have resistance around time, money, and resources where we don't think we have enough. And so it goes back to that basic belief in, you don't believe in abundance, but really abundance is all there is, right? There's an abundance of poverty and there's abundance of prosperity, right? So abundance is all there is. And once you get to that idea, it's easier to break down the beliefs that kind of go against that idea. But I think a great coach is somebody who has their own way of doing it, and who has their own toolbox, not just one particular way, because everybody is different. And although I use forgiveness so much, I mean, it's one of my biggest powerhouse tools to help people make tremendous shifts in their lives. and especially around the beginning of trying something new. There's a whole lot of stuff because it releases and lets go of everything. That's the tool, is releasing. I think I might have lost your question. I'm trying to go back to it. The toolbox.
How would students deal with these?
Yeah. Deal with resistance. Don't push things down. I think that's really bring up the stuff that you're going through with your coach, and sometimes it feels contradictory or counteractive to bring your problems to a coach because you're wanting to be positive, and that's part of the reason why you're going to a coach, and especially one because we're not therapists. Coaches are not therapists, and that's a big distinction. I think you might have done a video on the difference between, I think you might have. If you haven't, you might do one. The difference between, because I know I did a blog post about it once. I thought you did as well. But we're not therapists, so we don't want to get in there and dig stuff up. But our whole goal is to help you move forward, not to move backwards and to clean up the stuff. We're here to meet you where you're at and to say, well, this is where you are right now. Well, let's see what's stopping you from moving forward. Being able to really talk to your coach about when you're feeling that you're stopped and allowing them to help you in whatever way that they're inspired to do, because our intuition is so heightened in a coaching relationship that we almost know what's going to help you before you even ask, really. Yeah. So don't beat yourself up. For a person who's in a coaching relationship, don't beat yourself up for feeling the way you do. You have a hard time. Hard times happen, but don't give yourself a hard time. Allow your coach to help you work through that. I think that's probably the biggest. Somebody should write that down. Don't give yourself a hard time when you're having a hard time. Let your coach know and just and work through it, because it can happen instantly. Those changes with a coach can happen really quick with a little conversation, a little different wording of what you're going through, and a different perspective can really shoot you into another level in your business and in your life. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, very, very good. It's insightful, Dawn, and appreciate it very much. And now I think we might have some questions popping up in the Q&A. Lisa, did you want to run through some of those with Dawn?
Yeah, you answered a lot of the questions, but one of them is, again, from Doug. He says, how can you create a successful mastermind group?
Well, Doug, there's so many different ways, and if you're interested, I have on my website, I think it's my free offer right now. If you just go and plug in, I wasn't prepared I should have thought of this, but it's a free download, and it's sort of like you fill in the blanks, and it asks you different, what type of a mastermind group do you want, because just like a coaching environment, you have to know what your desire is for the mastermind group. And just for anything else, if you purchase something, you need to know why you want it and what it is that you really want. But the first steps for creating a mastermind group is to find out why you want one. Most people have a really good mastermind group within a mile radius of where they are, but we're so used to having to look so far away that we don't realize that our mastermind group is very close to us normally. And I believe that by virtue of the law of attraction, every resource that we need is within a mile radius of us. So start with just asking people. That's the biggest suggestion I can give you, Doug. My intuition is saying you just ask some people, and you'll find out whether or not people want to join you or not. One of the things I found, like especially coaches and people like us and especially people who are watching this on Google Plus or even on YouTube, you've been to programs, you've been to seminars, and you've been to trainings, and you've been to different events. That's the perfect time to create a mastermind group, is to get with a bunch of people from one of those events and say, let's take this material, let's hold ourselves accountable for taking this material to its completion. And I think that it takes a leader, and if you're willing to really step up and hold the mastermind group to a schedule and to keep them motivated to come back week after week, it's not as easy as it seems, but it's totally doable. And the best place to look for a mastermind group is usually right in your own home. I have one with my family and one with my husband, and we work as a mastermind group. So I hope that answers your question. And then there's all kinds of ways to start a mastermind group within your business. If you want to have a paid mastermind group, if you are doing something different, I can talk to you about that. I'm going to be doing some videos, so join us on one of the other Hangouts, and I'm sure that hopefully you'll get some of those questions answered.
Awesome. Great. And then another question for you, Dawn, is do you have specific tools that you use in your coaching practice that you could share with us?
Tools.
Mm-hmm.
So this is so silly, but some of the tools that I think are the biggest and most helpful are really, getting people on a calendar. I mean, this is like the silliest thing, but putting people on a Google Calendar and let them know when, sharing that calendar time with somebody is huge. And the tools that I use in my coaching practice are mostly time management tools, and I guess I'm going to ask for clarification. Lisa, are you asking about tools I use as a coach to keep my business running, or are you asking tools for me when I'm working with my clients, or tools that I use myself, because I do use different things?
Specifically tools that you use in your coaching. For instance, he's saying, I'm a big fan of the Enneagram.
Yeah, I don't use that, but I do. You know what? I'm going to tell you something, and this is really off the charts here. I do, when somebody's really struggling with their life purpose, I will use hand analysis, and that is one of the things that I don't share with everybody. Now the whole world's going to know this, but it's looking at your fingerprints to see what your life purpose is, and I will use that. So it's very not the same as the Enneagram. I don't use those types of tools. Mine are a little more, I guess, more esoteric. I do like to know whether or not a person is motivated by other people or by being by themselves, so that whether they're an introvert or an extrovert is helpful to know. And the reason I don't use some of those tools is because I think they take not always. If you can use them and they feel like they add to who you are and they add to helping you understand who you are, then it's amazing and very helpful. I think, though, especially those people that are asking the question, who am I, all the time, using those tools gets them in the habit of looking outside of themselves for an answer, and that doesn't feel, it doesn't always feel right for me. So I like to have my clients really do self-assessment is the biggest tool. And for blocks, for helping them overcome blocks, EFT is great. If you know what EFT is, I'm sure tapping. It's one of the easiest tools. I even like essential oils. I mean, if you're asking like what other tools I use, I use essential oils kind of. Sometimes when I'm in person with somebody, I'll just say, can you sniff some oil here? You might want to try this just to help clear the fog, and it works. But yeah, that's it. No, I don't use the Enneagram, and I do use hand analysis every once in a while, but it's not something that I do regularly.
Okay, great. And I want to start wrapping it up because we're getting towards the end and I want to pull together. But there is another question that I think we've been talking about masterminds this last little bit, and yet we have someone who is asking, what is a mastermind? So can you give your definition of how would you define a mastermind group?
Yeah, absolutely. A mastermind group is when two people get together for a common goal. I mean, that's really the most important thing. And you can create a mastermind in group with a coach. Your coach can be your mastermind partner. And it's what happens is the two people get together within a mastermind group, and a third mind is drawn in, which is infinite intelligence. So the two people get together to solve a problem or to move forward. And because of their common goal, their common desire, they are linking up and hooking up to infinite intelligence, and they're receiving the third mind, which is universal mind. And it makes things happen so much quicker. When two people are in a relationship and they have different desires and different goals and different outcomes, that's what makes the relationship really hard, and there's no mastermind partnership in that. And that's one of the reasons I think a lot of relationships fall apart. They haven't really talked about what's our common goal, whether it's to grow up and be married in 50 years. That's a common goal that they could then work towards, and then all the inspiration comes to how to make that happen from within the mastermind group. Though mastermind groups can be used for solving global problems, and they have been before. Our country, the United States of America, was formed under a mastermind group with the Declaration of Independence being signed. We've had so many different mastermind groups getting together, and they're just groups of people getting together, one or more, who have a common goal, and that's the most important thing, the common goal. So they're all working towards one singular objective. And when you have that, you have a mastermind group. And sometimes I think, if you can ask yourself, whoever's asking that question, just ask yourself, where in my life do I have a relationship that's close to that, and then maybe begin to take it to that next level. Read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. There's a chapter on the mastermind, but really look first at the chapter on organized planning, because he really talks about the purpose of a mastermind group is to contain the energy. Well, he doesn't talk about this way. This is my definition of it, but it's to contain the energy of the goal, the desire, until it's manifest. So that's the whole purpose of a mastermind group, is to keep you on track and focused until you manifest what you really want. And I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think that was great. Really good. Wonderful. So what I'd like to do is pull together, I've been sitting in the background as you and Stuart have been having this great discussion, and of course you and I know we resonate so much, and I forgot that you have coached athletes and I've coached athletes for many, many years, and just have always told my athletes before I was really transitioning into transformational coaching, how you show up in your training and racing is a reflection of how you show up for your life. And one of the things that I would tell my athletes when they would come to me, because I made them commit to working with me for a whole year at a time, I wouldn't take any athletes if I didn't coach them that long, is, look, this isn't about you getting over the Ironman finish line or that marathon finish line, because when you cross that finish line, there's going to be something more for you. This is about the journey, not the destination. And so I really appreciate I resonate so much with everything that you said that really tied that in. I kept going, oh, yeah, I got that. So I'm going to sort of do, as Stuart did this last week, and I'm taking his example and doing it this week, and sort of going through some of the key things that I felt like you said that I want to really point out, and wrote them here. And the first one is this idea of, hopefully you guys can see this, is the question of who am I, asking ourselves the question, not who am I, but who am I becoming?
Yeah.
I think that is such a wonderful, wonderful question to ask ourselves, and it always puts us moving forward and moving towards the highest version of ourselves. And then next you talked about this question, which is, what do you really want? What do you really want? Not what does your wife want from you? What does your doctor want from you? What does your coach want from you? But what is it that you really want? And sometimes investigating that with that question within itself brings to the realization, wow, I've been living my life for others and not for myself. And that part of the coaching process is so, so powerful. So I loved that question in asking that. And then something that you said was to, once you know what you want, be open, but also be curious.
Yeah.
We were talking about this in the green room, how wonderful being in the practice, as I like to say, of curiosity really, really is in this process of coaching, of being curious. And I have a few more here and I'll try to go through them quickly. The next one was to connect with your desire.
Yeah.
I think that's so beautiful and goes right along with what do you really want? Well, connect with your desire and you'll know. And then got tool number 1, which was forgiveness. You're a big proponent of forgiveness. And I sort of didn't catch, or maybe Stuart caught it. What tool number 2 was?
Look, I got down here was the desire one. So maybe Dawn, have I got that correct, or did you have it?
You got that.
So yeah, it's been such a wonderful treat to have you here, Dawn, and I would love for you to share again how people can get in touch with you. The best way to get in touch with you would be how?
You know what? I think the best way these days is to, get on Google Plus and just reach out to me there. I'm engaging with people. I'm responding. So if you have a question about masterminding, if you have a question about anything that I covered today, you can ask me on Google Plus. Feel free to plus me and raise that question, because I'll answer it. That's my promise. And I think that's the best way, because through there, if there's some other tool that I have that you might want to connect with, I can point you in the right direction. I'm not sure right now that it's easy to find my 12 Seeds program, or because I've mostly been promoting those to my list, to my group, to my empire. So yeah. So get in touch with me on Google Plus, and I would love to hear your thoughts, and maybe you have some tools that you want to share with me. I love to learn new things myself. I've been around, but things change so rapidly that that there's always something new going on. So I'd love to hear what your best practices are and your best tools.
So Dawn, just to be clear, for people to get a hold of you, it would be DAWNR NOCERA, right? That's how to get a hold of you. And I will be sure to write down that in our events page so everybody knows how to get a hold of you. And I will also write down those bullet points that I just went through as well, so people have those to look at as well. And it's been wonderful having you here. I'm going to hand it over to Stuart to close out the show.
Super.
Thanks, Lisa, and Dawn. It's been great to have you. It's been a very interesting discussion, and I want to just remind our listeners that the importance of coaching is paramount. It's not just about instruction.
Yeah.
It's about finding yourself. It's about going on the journey, and it's about integrating with what you find is your desire and your beliefs and where it is that you want to take your life for the rest of life, basically. I mean, you know, it's about what you want to do with your life, and coaching can definitely help you with that. And of course, Mastermind, and Ted had a very good comment here. Ted Wasoko. I've lost it now. He was here a minute ago, but he said that very simply that Mastermind is about finding and ensuring you're in the right direction. And I'd like to round out with our last words, if I may. So if we can all touch base with a word that we think sums it up. And as I was just saying, coaching is not about instruction. It's about life transformation.
Well, you know what? I can't spell. This is so funny. This is what I wrote down first, and it's just get coached, you know, because without my coaches, I couldn't have done anything. I mean, I could have done it. It just takes so long to do it yourself. And so that's what I wrote. Get coached, but that's 2 words.
I think that's okay. We'll count it as 1.
Okay.
And mine is, because I'm taking Dawn's curiosity. Love it.
Yeah, excellent.
Be in the practice of curiosity.
It's a magical manifesting word, and I promise you that when you're in there, again, this is my promise, my secret, that people who stayed here to the last minute get the secret sauce promise. When you are in curiosity, excuse me, it's so easy to manifest what you want. Just be curious of where it's coming from, and it will be so much easier. And Stuart, what you mentioned about finding yourself through a coach, it really is you find yourself on the journey. You don't find yourself really at the end of the race, right, Lisa?
Yeah.
You find yourself somewhere on the road to the end of the race, and then you realize you have a new goal, and that's the great part about having a coach. So thank you, guys. I love this. This is good.